So good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining. My guest today is Ellie Higham, and I'm very, very excited. So I met Ellie at a leadership course online because this is a pandemic and no one can ever get together. But the joy of that is that she is joining from the West Coast. I obviously am East Coast time. So while I do have a cup of coffee, there's champagne in there. So I'm very excited. This is after hours for me. Normally it's early in the morning. So we met through an online course, a leadership course, which was amazing, full of lots of badass women. And what she does is she's a vibrancy coach. I think I've talked before about a permission party that I went to that was hers. You know, really embracing more of who you are as opposed to trying to be a body type specific. So I love everything that she does. I'm very excited that you're joining me from the West Coast. So tell us what is a vibrancy coach? What do you do?
Well, thank you. I'm very jealous of the champagne in your mug. I need some champagne. And thank you for having me. So what a vibrancy coach is a little bit that I just made it up because I am a big lover of language. And also I love it when words inspire something and don't necessarily specify it, because I'm a big believer in kind of defining things in your own way. And so vibrancy for me is about really radically accepting who you actually are, your inner vibrancy, and then having the confidence and the courage and everything else to then go out and express it. And so that's what I do with people. And so I help them really get to fall in love with their inner vibrancy. And that's part acceptance, part, I say part, but a lot of healing work of like letting things go that were never theirs to begin with, and really falling back into what is it that I want? Who am I? You know, what actually matters to me? What are my values? And then once you've done all of that, then how do you actually operate in the world? So you don't just like do all this beautiful work and then go outside and it's Tuesday and it's, you know,
what do we do with all this knowledge? Yeah.
Exactly. So I think of it as kind of two parts, like one, like the internal vibrancy, and then two is the external vibrancy. And I think that they both go really hand in hand. So that's what it is. Yeah.
So how'd you get to that? How do you get to become a vibrancy coach? I mean, at one point, what led you, what was that inner drive, that, you know, that passion that brought you to this project?
It's a really good question. And I will like keep this as concise, which is not my skill set. So I have always operated in a way that felt very true to me. And I love my life. Like my life is beautiful right now, but it's taken a lot of really hard work to get there. And I remember being like this young child who never felt right in the world, who always felt like fundamentally wrong, or was like doing something, or felt too much, or was too dramatic, or whatever it was, just never comfortable in my own skin, and had a really hard time because of that. But I just kept going because I always knew that there was something more for me. You know, I always knew that there was this really big, exciting world, and I just needed to kind of get through this crap to get there. And that kind of, I kind of call it like the fact that I'm really bouncy. I just like always like spring back from stuff. And that was always my internal vibrancy. It's like I was just so curious about the world. I want to be pleased by the world. Like I think the world is a beautiful place. I think people are fascinating. Like I love being in the world, and my life for many years didn't feel that way to me. And I took very many circuitous routes to get here, but a lot of that was through running startups on behalf of founders in emerging markets. And really doing crazy, impossible things. Like by the time I was 30, I had scaled 3 companies to 7 figures, and I really don't actually know how I did that. So don't ask me. Haven't done that for this company yet, but I just did such impossible things and worked myself to the bone because I felt that that was my only value. Like I kind of found this niche in the world where I was really esteemed and was pretty well liked, and all of these like validating things that I'd always struggled with in my life. And I associated getting access to that through my hard work and through my exhaustion. And I'm talking like stuff like I wouldn't pee for 12 hours because I was too busy. I have to go see a pelvic floor PT now because I didn't pee for 12 hours for so many years. Like, all of this stuff.
Yeah.
Like, my whole identity was based on how hard I could work and how much I could do for other people. And I burned out, and then I burned out again, and then I burned out again. And it just kept going. And then a number of things in my life collided. My mum was very sick and then died. My partner at the time moved. We were living in Kenya, and he moved back to the States. In my real stable family upbringing, I realized there was a lot of stuff that was not very good, and all of this stuff. And I just realized that all of these really careful things I put into place just weren't working anymore. And I was beyond burnt out, and I didn't recognize who I was. And I'd lost my vibrancy. I'd lost like what made me special. And I'd moved to the States by this point, and a good friend of mine came up to visit, and he was just like, Ellie, you don't look like you. He's like, you're wearing boring clothes and you just don't seem happy. And it was a real wake-up call that I needed to change things pretty significantly, and I need then on a very, very deep fundamental level. And that's when I really started to explore who I was, what I wanted, how I got there, and what I needed to let go of to get there. And that's kind of where all of this was born from.
Oh, I love that. I knew a little bit of the story, but not the full story. So, I mean, the idea of just losing your bounce, I mean, that's a big wake up call. So through those struggles, right? And I always ask my guests about struggles. Let's make it smaller. So this past year, right? So you've kind of pivoted and changed, and you're starting in this own great project. Your own company, not for someone else now.
Yeah.
Where have you has there been some struggle this year? Obviously pandemic, we know, but talk about that a bit.
Yeah, I think this year's actually been one of the end of 2020 was actually the hardest time for me, I think, ever, because I'd really detached from my only value being busy, and the fact that I have more to offer than just running myself into the ground, but I didn't quite know what else that was.
Right.
And then that coupled with that business was slower in 2020, because I'm not an established brand that has people knocking at the door and has this huge marketing budget and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So I was didn't quite know what was next. And then all of my natural tendencies of how to make things happen were suddenly not available to me.
Right.
So I had this real chasm of, what am I doing? And how do I do it? And I'm really lost and I don't know who I am again. But it came at just the right time, because it's what I needed to do. I needed to do this deeper excavation work that I thought I'd already done, but you never stop excavating in my world.
You never stop working.
You never stop the work. So this year was really intense and really forced me to figure out what is actually going to work in my life and what I need to just let go of.
So take that and pivot it, flip it over. Where's the delight been?
The thing is, like, my life is a lot of delight. Like, and this is the way I coach, this is the way I operate. This is, again, like my whole way of being. Like, I want my life to be beautiful. I want my life to have levity. Like, even when I've been, in like my massive depressive periods, or my mum was dying, or I've like, moved to a new continent and I don't know anybody, and like I've never felt that lonely, or even when life has been impossibly hard, I've still had joy in life, because that's kind of what has been this driving force for me always. Like, how do I make my world 1% more beautiful?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And obviously we're going to link to your Instagram here, but it is one of my favorite Instagram pages. I mean, one, all the photos are gorgeous anyway, most of them of you, but the joy you have in going to get coffee, or going to dinner, or spending time with Dottie, your dog. I mean, it's really, really delightful to see. It's really well done and incredibly authentic. And I love all of that. So you've gotten to this point, and then business has been a little slow. It's picking back up, but what do you need?
It's a really good question. And
women hate this question.
Well, the thing is, like, I've been doing a lot around the concept of need, and like, what is it? Is it need or is it desire? You know what I mean? And like, I love coming at things from this place of, what do I desire instead of what do I need?
Well, and break that down a little bit.
Yeah. And this is, I always come back to something my dad told me years ago. And he's like, tell people that you need stuff, because then they'll respond. And I really ingrained this, that need was kind of this power move that I could play. Yeah. My dad is not the nicest man in the world. Let me just caveat everything. But need is very loaded. And again, going back to this idea of language that I was talking about at the start, like, we as people who've been socialized female, like, there is need has a weight to it that we don't necessarily need or is helpful to us. So instead of wasting time and like complicating moving forward in our lives because we're caught up in the language of this word, we can just shift the gaze, and that's what I mean when I think of like desire versus need. Like, need has heaviness to it. Desire is like, I mean, who doesn't want to desire stuff? It just feels to me like a more pleasant word.
It is.
What I desire is just more eyeballs on what I do. And I'm so passionate about the work that I do. And I'm so passionate about the clients that I serve, that more eyeballs. And really, I've always grown my business through community and through connection. That's how I scale companies. That's always been, a real driving principle to me. So if you know someone who needs somebody in their life like me, then like make that connection. Like, you know what I'm like. I just like love chit-chatting with people. But, this is how I think change really happens, is when we make connections on behalf of other people, as well as getting super clear about what we want to. So
I love that. So what's that current project for you? So what's next? You've always got something really great on the horizon. So what's the project that's next for you? I know you had Vitamin V, and I believe that's closed.
That's closed. Yeah.
And so what's that next one?
So the next one is, can I swear on this?
Always.
Okay, good, because my actual project is the swear word. So what's next for me is, because I'm simplifying my business model and about to ramp up for some really big stuff in the next few months, I am only working one-to-one with people on my 6-month package. So
Okay.
that is kind of how you work with me. But the thing that I'm doing that I'm super, super excited about is, and this is completely for free, it's just because this is the best way I can see to serve the most amount of people without burning out. But the project is called the Fuck Yes Crew.
Yes.
And it's to take you from like, fuck yes, to like, fuck yes. And it's a antidote to indecision, and it's getting people yes to those like fuck yeses, but also to their clear no's, you know, and getting people more comfortable with the concept of no, getting people feeling safer with the concept of yes, and really just like busting through what indecision is, why it shows up, and then with that knowledge, like what you can do about it. So,
oh my gosh, I love that so much. Oh, that's so good. I mean, I do love that. If it's not a fuck yes, then it's a no. Like,
yeah.
I love that whole concept. So, okay, so always the big question, always the ending question, because we do these are just little nuggets. One day maybe I'll do a podcast, but I don't have that's too much time. I got a kid. So let's talk about that last big question of, at the end, it sounds so morbid, but at the end, when we're done, you know, and you look back, what was that trace that you left? And obviously you're not in my immediate community, but you know, the global community, you know, what do you want that to be?
I love this question. What a powerful question. I think I can go in so many different directions as always, but like the trace that I really want to leave is that I made it easier for people to be themselves and to take real joy and delight in that. And, you know, if people are wearing more animal print or gold chain because of me, I'm not going to be mad at it. But people can really just be themselves, because you know that you can feel it when people are themselves and are happy in their skin. It's such a different feeling. You know, there's no prove it energy. There's no like, look at me. There's a softness there and a fortitude that is just really beautiful. And I would love it if my life's work, and it kind of always has been, to like help people get to that point and define what that means for them, you know?
Oh my gosh, that's so perfect. It's just a perfect way to end. And it's so lovely. And I'm just so grateful that we finally got to make it work. I mean, you're so busy, and time difference and all of that, but I'm just so grateful for you and for your friendship, and your Instagram channel is one of my favorite things. And I'm just I'm obviously a fangirl, you. I love you. So have a great rest of your day. And thank you so much for spending time with me.
Thank you so much. It was so lovely.
Bye.
Bye.